What have you done to prepare yourself to be the Chief Executive Officer of a large organization like the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
I said this earlier, but to be promoted above the rank of sergeant in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office is very political. Promotions or appointments at captain or above are based less on education, military service, work performance, or other qualifications. But they have become more about basically, as I said earlier, because of the politics involved, not what they know or who they know, but more often than not, what they know about who they know. Basically, some promotions are made because they're perceived to be loyal to the team machine. When I say the team machine, I mean the bubble system, keeping the powers to be in place and protecting the system at all costs. Clearly, I've been on a different team. Okay, I've been on your team. We've been working side by side with the troops to ensure that you get the best quality law enforcement that money can buy, or at least your taxpayers can buy. I've, for the last 23 years of my life, I can say that probably the most honorable thing that I ever have done or ever will do is train the men and women of law enforcement that work in this community. I helped them turn their desire to fire. I taught them how to walk with a little pep to their step. I helped them I taught them to stand tall when others quivered in fear. I gave them the tools to be highly dedicated and truly motivated, because that's what you deserve. I taught them how to keep their moral compass on true north, so they would never find themselves lost even in their darkest hour or weakest moment. I'm a family man, and I see the Sheriff's Office and our community as one big family. Budgeting, finance, and human resources are the same for a family as they are for any large organization. There's just a lot more zeros at the end of every column. Basically, the principle of management for your family is the same, and as a family, I run my family this way, that you can't spend what you don't have. You have to work as a team to survive, and even a hell of a lot harder to thrive. You have to save and budget for all emergencies, and finally, you're only as strong as your weakest link. As a family, we can get stronger together and have a happier, healthier environment here in the Keys, not just for our employees, but each and every citizen of our community. Thank you.
Most people that know me, everybody knows me, knows my career has always been to be the sheriff one day. From the time I started being a lawman 25 years ago, that was my goal. With that in mind, from the time I first became a law enforcement officer, I started taking every single class I could in law enforcement, especially every class geared towards supervision, leadership, management, and administrative police personnel. During my time, I've taken over 4,700 hours of specific law enforcement training in every aspect of law enforcement. During that time, over 1,600 hours was specifically in the area of supervision, leadership, management, and administration of law enforcement personnel. I've taken over 30 courses in supervision, leadership, management, and administration. I'm a proud graduate of the FBI National Academy, which is the top law enforcement management administration course in the nation, a 3-month academy. A graduate of the University of Louisville, Southern Police Institute, Command Officer School. One of the top ranked police administration management classes in the country. That's a 3-month course as well. During my time, I've focused on every area of this agency to know, understand, and work in every area, from patrol to traffic to narcotics, investigations, SWAT team leader, dive team leader, field training supervisor, state certified high-low buddy instructor, academy level, general crimes, homicide, special crimes, everything fell under my jail, management, administration. I've tailored my entire career for this day, for this time in my life. So I think I've done everything I can do to be where I'm at now, and hope that's enough. So thank you.
One thing I have, I guess I will take with me away from this candidacy is I've become I'm very adept at figuring out percentages, something I wasn't very good at before. Just to go back to something the Colonel mentioned earlier about the height of salaries and the amount of people making what money. That list is on the website, so you can check it out, but two people I didn't mention in the figures I gave you is Director Martin and Lieutenant Colonel Wagner, Director of South Florida HIDA, he mentioned, and Lieutenant Colonel Wagner, second in command of South Florida HIDA. Because those individuals make $185,000 and $177,000, $60,000 a year more than the sheriff, and $79,000 a year more than the sheriff. Those are individuals I didn't include in my figures, 21 administrators. The rest of the administrators, if I made a mistake, it's on the website. If the individuals that are on that list provided to me by the sheriff's office aren't employees getting our tax dollars, then I can admit if I made a mistake. Take a look at it. The other thing I wanted to mention is the Colonel mentioned that they compared salaries to 15 other agencies, sheriff's office in the state of Florida. There's 67 sheriff's offices in the state of Florida. So they did a salary comparison with 22% of the agencies in the state of Florida. So that's roughly 1/4 of the agencies they're comparable with in salaries. Anyway, to the real question, I guess. I feel like I'm playing ping pong. The real question is the positive steps to prepare myself for becoming sheriff. Like I said at the very beginning of this, I'm honored to even be up here with these four gentlemen. They're all very experienced law enforcement officers. I'm, I guess, the most junior person up here with only 16 years in law enforcement. Very impressive credentials, very impressive stats. I too have taken a lot of training. I'm a law enforcement instructor. I worked in narcotics with the sheriff's office. I work for the state attorney's office now. I mentioned this earlier. I worked for a state agency with 15,000 employees. I worked for a municipal agency with less than 50 employees. I worked for the sheriff's office with 565 employees. Now I work for the state attorney's office. I'm the only one that's ever worked at any agency besides the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. That's ever seen how it's done anywhere else. Some of the schools that the Colonel mentioned he went to, and they're very impressive schools. The FBI Academy, very prestigious schooling. Most of the captains, lieutenants, chiefs, and the sheriff have been to those schools. But not a single other person in the sheriff's office under the rank of captain has been to any of those schools, because you don't go to those schools unless you are a captain at the sheriff's office. You don't get the opportunity to go to those schools. So the other three candidates who work for the sheriff's office right now never got the opportunity to attend any of those schools, even if they wanted to, and I'm sure they did, and hopefully we'll get to go someday. I made the decisions throughout my career to advance for myself and my family. Every time I left a job or applied for a promotion or left to go to another agency, I did that based on, just like everybody in this room does, I based that decision on what I felt was best for my family and did what I thought was best for my family. To prepare myself to become sheriff, hopefully I've convinced somebody to vote for me. If I haven't, then I won't be sheriff. But we hope we've made some points with you. Thank you.
Well, I think what's important is knowing your community and knowing your officers to help you be a good leader. And one thing that I've learned is education is very important as well. I've worked for 4 sheriffs in Monroe County through my career, and 2 of those sheriffs, Sheriff Freeman and Sheriff DeFore, were never law enforcement and never certified as law enforcement, had nothing to do with the sheriff's office. They were both elected to be sheriffs here. They were great sheriffs. I worked with both of them. They brought our agency way ahead of its time. They cleaned up the corruption that were here. So, is it necessary to be a top-ranking officer to be a sheriff? No, it's not. 2 civilians came in and became sheriff and were great sheriffs who I worked for. I was very proud to work for them. So, if you know how to treat the people, know how to treat your officers, and know what the community needs and wants, that's what makes a good sheriff and will bring the agency up where it needs to be. And I believe I can do that. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I talked about, as to the question about what have I done to prepare to be sheriff of Monroe County. One of my last tours in the Air Force, I was an E5, assigned to San Antonio, Texas. I was looking for that easy day job, that cushy air-conditioned office thing. jumping under an E6 Army person, figuring I got things covered. Well, he didn't tell me he was leaving within 2 weeks. We were responsible for turning out a product that was due every 30 days and shipped throughout the world. The people I had working for me was people that have gotten in trouble with the Air Force and had one foot almost out the door and they were fixing to get thrown out the rest of the way. So I had to load them around. The equipment I was using at the time was extremely old. I had 2 supervisors that were civilians. One had been there for 30 years, one for 25. Sat down, talked with them one day, kind of seen how things were going, and told them I need to make some changes. It's time to take a fresh look. Give me 2 weeks, and I'll turn this thing around. As time went on, I was able to increase shipments to where we were 6 months ahead. That if there was a world crisis, we would be able to ship those shipments out on a moment's notice. Civilians were fantastic. Every time we had a visitor come through, they pointed it out and said, this is the guy that did this. At the sheriff's office, while at the sheriff's office, I've handled many different areas. A lot of those positions require somebody that was self-motivated, willing to make things work, sometimes with no money at all, including opening up sheriff's office substations at the Big Pine storefront. Had to do that for $0. Get a desk, get lockers, file cabinets. I was able to do that. I've attended several line supervision schools, including ones in the Air Force. I've also served on several boards. I was on the board of directors of Rotary, JC's. I was president, vice president, and the Fraternal Order of Police. I was inner and outer guard, state trustee for several terms where I represented our organization down here at the state level. I served as vice president, secretary, president, past president. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a world outside of the sheriff's office. I think it's time for a fresh look. Vote Tom Peteck, your Democratic sheriff. Thank you.